She's the designer of the development of the South Carolina Lupus Registry, creator of Live, Love, Laugh, It's Only Lupus community, author of Diary of a Mad Lupus Patient, a PatientsLikeMe.com team of advisors member, TEDx speaker, and a lupus empowerment guide, activist, and advocate. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Join her newsletter for free health and living with lupus resources at thelupusliar.com. Helena J. H. Johnson, The Lupus Liar, Conversations with Lupus, Unscripted.
Yay! Awesome! I am so excited to have this opportunity to just interview, discuss, talk with Liz Morgan, Director of Member Experiences, that's Member Experiences of Patients Like Me. This is a really, really more than cool site that I had an opportunity to join and become one of the team of advisors. And I just thought it would really be great for my followers, my friends, folks that I work with lupus support groups and peer activities, to really find out more about Patients Like Me and what it's about. And Liz, I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule this afternoon to go over it with me. I really do. So would you mind, yeah, this is awesome. Would you mind first giving us a little bit of an intro about yourself and how you came to work and be Director of Member Experiences of Patients Like Me?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. The pleasure is absolutely all mine. I haven't been on a podcast in any recent memory, so it's very exciting to do this. I do get to talk about my job a lot, which I love. I lead what we call the community team here. I've been here for almost 7 years in a patient-facing role and lead people who are doing customer support, online community management, and helping facilitate members through some of the different research experiences we have. And I think it's one of the best jobs here because I get to spend a lot of time on the internet and also spend a lot of time talking to members like yourself who really make Patients Like Me work.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you here. Just giving that intro lets me know that you really do take into consideration the patient experience, the one that's sitting in the doctor's office, the one that's there. So let's move on forward then. So why not just go ahead and give us a quick summary of Patients Like Me, or as a matter of fact, you're welcome to go ahead and just present this overview for us. I'm so excited that you've got together some slides to kind of give us a better feel of what it's all about. So I'm going to hand it over to you and come in where I feel needed. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. So as I think you know by now, we're a website, PatientsLikeMe.com. We were founded a little over 10 years ago by two brothers, Ben and Jamie Haywood. They had a third brother, Stephen, who was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and being MIT engineers, they really wanted a way to help. And so their different experiences led to Patients Like Me, which is an online platform where members share different health experiences they have, from their conditions to treatments to labs. They're able to keep track of that in an organized way and talk to other people who are going through the same thing. And that can, I've heard, be, just a much different and warmer experience than just talking to your healthcare providers. At the heart of all this is data and research. That there's a lot of different data sources out there. Insurers are collecting it, providers are collecting it, but you know best. Patients know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And so the thought is that this website is going to improve the lives of patients through collecting information from patients. To talk a little more about how that works, we're more than just that website for ALS. In the last 10 or so years, and so we're talking about pre-Facebook, if you can believe it, when this was started, we've gone and we have had over 500,000 members join this platform. Anybody with any condition can join. It's free to use, and we have partners who are working with us that want to know directly from patients what's going on. And so patients come on and they're sharing their health data on their profile, as much or as little as you want, from when you were diagnosed to what type of provider diagnosed you. And on the back end, we're doing research with this. We're doing research ourselves. We're also working with people in the industry, mostly pharmaceutical companies and different academic institutions that want to do this type of research that puts patients first. And we've been able to do over 100 publications, which is really exciting because the data source is always patients, those who know best. And the thought is that in aggregate, that this platform is going to really be able to transform healthcare in many, many, many different ways. We think about reimagining how diseases are defined. Maybe lupus has more subtypes than they think, to helping understand what patients prioritize in clinical trials, and all different sorts of healthcare kind of decisions in between. So it's kind of the big overarching goal of Patients Like Me. But what people can actually do on the platform, we'll often talk about in these 3 ways. So you can learn about different conditions, whether it's something that you're going through, maybe something that you think you might have, or something that a loved one has. You can come and find out, what is lupus like? What are the different symptoms? How are people treating it? Is this something that people are disclosing to people around them? You can connect with others. We have forums. You can send a private message. There's different sort of news feeds similar to what you might see on Facebook or any other social media sites, where you can see what are people going on, what's going on with people right now. There's a heat wave here in Boston. Is that causing other people around here as well, or is that actually helping people? I don't know the effect of weather on lupus, but you can talk to people in real time.
I think that really does help. That really does. If I kind of get a feel of what someone, it's funny you said that, like if I'm talking to someone else, and now I can do that right here in Patients Like Me, and I can get a feel for what they're going through. Maybe it's the weather that's bothering me on my end. Or maybe I'll feel better if I move there.
Yeah, I mean, you have such an amazing network that you have a lot of people to go to, but I think especially with something autoimmune like lupus, you don't know, wait, is this part of lupus, or is this a new thing that has to do with older, or is this something else? So you can, talk to people that understand those types of experiences. That's totally good. And then doing all this, you're building up a profile where you could maybe print this out and show it to your doctor, but you have a history that's yours. There's an increasing number of EMRs or electronic medical records that you can maybe get from your healthcare provider, but sometimes it's more difficult to get those histories, or you have to pay for them. We've heard all sorts of stories about kind of the trials people have to go to get their own health information. So we think it's really important on Patients Like Me to have that profile that's all of your own.
So for clarity, I'm tracking I'm joining this, and there's a forum, but I get to track my medical history, and I get to actually use that information that I've tracked.
You do. So maybe just by nature of tracking your health, it's always nice when somebody asks you, how are you right now? Or how's your knee doing? Maybe by nature of just being asked those questions, you learn something about yourself, but by tracking them over time, maybe you alone or you with your spouse or healthcare provider can start to spot patterns, whether it's between different symptoms and a new treatment you're on, or maybe you are seeing things cyclical, whether it has to do with your menstrual cycle or the weather or time of year. Having that written down in a graphical format can sometimes help you see some of those patterns. We have some screenshots of some of these things too to kind of show you what it looks like. So we can go to the profile first to start to see, these are different things that you can track: your symptoms, your treatments, your conditions. I can show you some actual profiles in a minute, some screenshots of what it might look like to connect in the forums.
Okay.
And then also the types of reports that we're pulling together. So every single thing that you share on Patients Like Me, aside from identifiable information like your email address or birth date, things like that, are all aggregated and fed back to the community so that you can see who else is here. So this is a page that is showing us who's here in the lupus community. 25,000 members. We can see that a number of people in their 30s to 50s, a lot of them had their first symptom, under the age of 40. Many of them are female, which, matches up with general lupus demographics, just to get a sense of kind of who's here and how do you fit in.
Right. So already I'm just, and for those who might be just listening and not seeing what we see, that you've already showed us that, wow, I have this forum ability when I'm right in this one login. So that means I can conversate, I can talk to folks. You just showed me that. And I'm looking at this great screenshot that's showing me information, overview of my information, well, overview of what systemic lupus is and how many patients are actually there on Patients Like Me that I could possibly connect with.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool because, you know, there's a lot of sites out there like WebMD or PubMed where you have information that is very helpful about what treatments are available, but you don't necessarily know, well, at what frequency are people taking these? Like, which one's more popular than the other one? How much, you know, we know what dosages are available, but at what frequency are people being prescribed the different dosages? So it's pulling all that information directly from patients or different community members who are reporting it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I get a really great feel of the type of people I'm around. You're right. That is very different than a lot of the other forums and patient sites that I've seen and joined. I like that. I really like that. How would you feel that some of this information, just this simple information of knowing the whether it's female, male, things like that, how would you feel that's really impacted the patient community?
I mean, what I hear again and again is just, you know, is this normal? Why me? What does this mean? Well, did I do something to get this disease? Am I going to die from this? A lot of similar questions, especially as a lot of our communities are, you know, chronic or autoimmune and things that may take a while to get diagnosed. And so you want to get a sense of, you know, am I normal? How do I fit in? So I think seeing these charts and if I were logged in, it would show kind of a little stick man by where I fit in these graphs. I think it helps show you that you're not alone. What you're going through is something that somebody else has gone through before. And you could even reach out to that person and just say, hey, me too, I get it. Or maybe ask a more pointed question like, oh, okay, you got this treatment as well. How did you go about managing whether it's refills or how did you go about managing this side effect?
Wow, yes, yes. And I think, you know, and I know you're probably going to show us this in a moment, but just seeing that I can track and put my information in, for someone like me who's diagnosed with lupus, I mean, I'm forgetting. or I have an appointment coming up and I need to know what in the world just happened to me last week. And I think that is so neat that I have the ability to be in one arena, you know, which is a little bit different from the other forums and communities, to be in one arena. I don't have to log in and out to see what's going on with my symptoms, to see what's going on with other folks, and to find out information because I can see, I'm just looking at your screen, treatment, symptoms, forums. And I think that's so neat that everything's right there for me when I log in.
I think so. I mean, it's hard to, just live in modern life. It's hard to be a patient. It's hard to remember all these things. You know, I would find it helpful to have a place to go. And also, you have such a limited time sometimes with your healthcare provider, or even maybe if you're trying to communicate to a spouse. This is what I've been going through. To just have a quick visual can sometimes be helpful. So I can go ahead and actually even show you what a profile looks like on our site. So right now I'm just going to PatientsLikeMe.com. Again, it's free for anybody to join, and you can share as much or as little as you want. I'm just looking at public profiles right now. I'm not logged into the site because although your profile is visible to everybody else on the site, it's optional if you want to make it available to everybody on the internet. So we're just sticking with people who are comfortable sharing with everybody on the internet. So it's a smaller group of people. But I'm here in a search field. It looks similar to, you know, any sort of search. The inspiration, actually, one of the stories is that one of our founders was also online dating, and he saw, well, wait, you can search for all these different attributes for somebody to go have dinner with. How come you can't just find somebody who matches, whether it's somebody who's going to be eligible for research or a clinical trial or a patient? So there's buttons here like what gender is somebody, how many years have they had lupus, what sort of treatments they're on, and you can start to just browse profiles to get a sense of who does this affect. So I put in lupus, and I'll click through one of these profiles. It's not somebody's profile who I've seen before, so We're just exploring it together. But came across somebody whose profile's name is Margot Glass. She's had lupus since 2009. And scrolling down, we can start to see a sense of, you know, what has she tracked over time to spot any patterns. So the things.
Oh wow, I can be if she and this is if she allows this to be seen to others. She doesn't have to allow another member to see that, correct?
So all members, so we have an openness philosophy. As you probably know, there's not a lot of sharing going on in healthcare or going on in research, and we really think that openness is a good thing, that by sharing health information that there is going to be insights developed with that information, that there's too much information under a lock and key. Your private, personally identifiable information should stay that way, but things like you know, your outcome scores or your labs should be available for researchers to use. So on PatientsLikeMe.com, when you're logged in, all of this profile information is available to all other members of the platform. But it's optional if you want it available to everybody on the World Wide Web. So this person has chosen the World Wide Web. She's a little more open about you know, what's going on with her. But you can remain as anonymous as you want. You can have a pseudonym or screen name. You don't have to share where you live. You don't have to share any identifiable information about you if you don't want to. And we come across a range of people. Some, you know, want to stand on a platform like you do and shout as loud as they can. You know, this is what I've gone through. I hope nobody else feels alone.
Right.
People, depending on your condition and stage of life and maybe where you live, you may not be ready to do that. So we allow people to be as anonymous as they want.
But it's so great because it also allows me to feel like, you know, a lot of lupus patients, depending on how the condition is affecting them, you know, of course, we have those forms of communities that help us not feel so lonely, but this also allows me to feel like I'm doing something. I am contributing to the next person that may need my help. You know, being able to make that decision to say, you know what, I would love for you to use my data. Lupus is such a crazy disease that there's really no two people that are alike. We have similar symptoms. We're all diagnosed with that, but we're going to have some things that are different. And it's going to affect us differently by the fact that it is that autoimmune disease. And with patients like me, I can keep track of this crazy stuff that's happening to me in terms of my symptoms, and I can let my doctors know, and I'm making the decision to let someone else, like you said, a lot of these agencies that I choose to, well, I won't say choose because we don't choose, but we're allowing our data to be used. I'm saying that correctly, just to make sure. But I get to help with my information, just by my information. Not that I want to be in pain and let you know, you know, and think that that's a great route, but I get an opportunity with the different pains that I have, with the different symptoms that I have, to share that. I get an opportunity to share that and hope that it will be of some use.
Yeah, and we choose our partners very carefully. We find people who also want to be more patient-centric, want to do good, and I think sometimes big bad pharma can get this rap that they're just out there to make money, but all the encounters I've had are just people who want to see a disease be cured or at least alleviated a little bit. And so those are the type of people who we're partnering with to try to do good and really help the whole healthcare system and help patients live better.
Can you give me an example of what maybe one of the partners might actually take the data and do with it? I mean, I know you explained that, you know, they're going to look at it and help us feel better, but what might there be something out of Patients Like Me that they would take and use?
Sure. So there are certainly different projects that are happening online where people are doing reports of, you know, at what frequency are people having joint pain, and maybe at what frequency are people having joint pain who are on these different medications, questions like that, or maybe a proactive survey. But some of the exercises or research that I think has been a lot cooler is when we've combined this profile information with other types of information as well. An example of that was one of our partners, Biotech, was interested in, do people with MS want to use Fitbits, and if so, what type of information are we going to get from those Fitbits, and what are people going to think about it? And so this was a cool project where we were able to go out to our MS community and say who wants to be involved, had some screener questions, and recruited people into a 6-week study where we mailed them a Fitbit. They linked that up with their PatientsLikeMe profile, and we watched what happened. We listened to people who know best. Is this helpful? And we heard from a lot of people, yes, that it was reminding them to walk, and they felt better when they walked. And the partners and I, we were able to learn not just what do people think about this, but also a new source of data. So we're able to couple, well, you're reporting on your profile how your walking is, or how your fatigue is, or maybe how your stress is. Combine that with your steps data could be really cool. Because there's sometimes there are assumptions like, oh, somebody's not walking a lot because they're doing really poorly and they're in bed. But actually, they're not walking a lot because they're doing great and they're at work, just sitting in a desk like the rest of us.
Right.
Combining all that information into one was one example of a cool research project that we did.
Oh, wow, that is awesome. So with this, I have an opportunity, and I think we said this already, I may be repeating this, that I have an opportunity to use this data myself and to actually print it out and take it with me to my doctor's appointments if I'd like, correct?
Yeah, and you could share, so if you're going to your neurologist or somebody who you see less frequently, you may choose to, show them a high overview. But if you're going to your primary care physician or your psychologist, somebody who you're seeing more frequently, you may pull the day-to-day. Hey, here's my tracking every day of the last 30 days and the patterns I've noticed because I just stopped eating gluten or whatever it was that you're trying, just doing almost little self-experiments. So you can make as much of it as you want.
That is awesome.
People also are tracking things like weight and treatments, and so your profile can get fairly robust.
That is awesome. Do I have an opportunity to? I can track it, and I can actually filter it for the information that I need. Is there a way? Just curious. Is there a way to email it besides downloading it and printing it out? Can I also email it to my doctors, possibly?
Yeah, so I'm not logged in right now, but if I was, under my doctor visit sheet, it would show you can save it as a PDF and then send it over. I also, a little hack that I like if I'm trying to make a point is if you think about, not just, save this whole thing as a PDF, but you could zoom into different areas and take a screenshot and be like, look, this is what I'm trying to show you. And if you want to get fancy, you can even use one of those, sketch-type programs and on it and do the little arrows and say, this is what I'm talking about. Since I started this frog, this weird thing is coming, this weird symptom's happening, so I really think it's a side effect or, whatever patterns you may be spotting.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. So if heaven forbid that I make a choice that, you know what, I'm kind of fading out, and which I don't see why I would, but I'm just curious, if I leave the site, what happens to my data? What happens to that information?
So there's a few different things that could happen. You could leave your profile open and, just essentially turn off any email alerts or things that you don't want to hear from the site about, and that we would call that leaving a legacy of data. This could happen just because you either are in remission, you've gotten busier, you're maybe taking a sabbatical from being online, or some members of some of our different conditions may pass away, unfortunately, from the reason why they've joined Patients Like Me. So we leave that option for people to feel like they're still contributing and all of their data is still there. If you choose to want to withdraw from the site, you can close your account and we won't use any of your information going forward.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. That is awesome. But being able to actually contribute and live my life and utilize this information and be with a forum of folks and finding out what's going on with them and how others are feeling with the same things that are going on with me, I think that is awesome. So let me recap here just to make sure. So there are almost 25,000 of those patients that are on Patients Like Me right now that are diagnosed with lupus.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we're just talking about SLE here, so not the different types of lupus, but you can see there are people reporting all sorts of different conditions. Some very defined, like systemic lupus, but some people are putting in, you know, this one with only 6 people have put it on their profile. So people are tracking, sometimes even they may be the first person that are tracking a condition on the site. For some people, especially with rare diseases, they're able to come on here and find other people with that same rare disease, which is really cool and powerful. Especially those who live in more rural areas may not have a support group. And so this could be the first time that they talk to somebody with that same condition. So
that is true.
For SLE, I'm looking at the overview, and I'm going to keep scrolling down and see that 25,000 people on Patients Like Me have reported systemic lupus.
That is awesome. Thank you. And you're right. A lot of us, you know, that can't get to places, we get online. Those who are in those rural areas, it's so important to feel connected, shall I say, to feel connected. So, yeah. So tell me, Liz, you know, how does everyone else get an opportunity to sign up? How do they sign up and access and become a Patients Like Me person?
PatientsLikeMe.com. If you ever have any questions, you can just write to support@PatientsLikeMe.com. There's a contact us form at the bottom of this page. Somebody from my team will personally respond to that within a day, and we can answer any questions you may have. If you're ready to join, know that it's free. You can click Join Now right here on the top of the page. You can even join with Facebook if you want, but if not, just choose a username, password, and you're in.
That is awesome. Is there other ways to access it besides just online via desktop, or is there another way, any convenient ways that I can also access Patients Like Me?
You can go to it just from your cell phone browser, type PatientsLikeMe.com, and like many of the other websites out there, it is responsive technology or design, which, and I'm not sure if this is going to show up, you'll see that it detects when you're on a different size screen.
Oh, cool, it is.
And kind of optimizes the experience for you.
That is great. That is great. Well, I'm on it, so I'm just happy to be able to ask some of those questions for myself and for my community of followers, because I really, really love what the site does for me as a member and what I have an opportunity to do. But you've answered even some more questions that I haven't had a chance to explore yet, and I can't tell you how valuable that is for those who have who may be diagnosed with something like I have, or like you said, other conditions, but with lupus. And they just really want to find that connection somewhere. And I'm loving Patients Like Me. I am loving it. I'm loving it. And I can't thank you enough for taking time to actually go over this in detail for me and for others who may be listening in or watching. So I really appreciate that time that you took. Ms. Liz Morgan, Director of Member Experiences. So I know that those who do give it a try will really love the experience. And so we can also just email you guys and let you know what we think about it, or any opinions or thoughts and concerns. You mentioned that just a minute ago. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, having the opportunity to get some feedback, or actually contacting support and getting some information back probably within a day, you mentioned? You said within a day?
Yeah, we love being awesome. Members. It's the reason we're here. We're so appreciative that you joined our community and that you applied to be an advisor. You've been just a really awesome person to consult with on how we should grow this community, and we're appreciative that you are boots on the ground growing the community as well with this awesome podcast and network that you've built.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, this is great. I mean, having lupus is really hard. You don't have to go at it alone. As you know, listening to Helena, come on over to PatientsLikeMe.com. Find other people and participate in some research along the way.
That is awesome. Thank you again, Liz. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been great.
Thanks.